The vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy had always been a place of wonder and mystery. For centuries, various alien races had explored its depths, established colonies, and formed alliances, but nothing could have prepared them for the horror that was about to be unleashed. It all began on a quiet Tuesday morning at the Galactic Council's headquarters on planet Xeon. Alarm bells rang through the massive crystal building, echoing off its shimmering walls. Council members from 100 different species rushed to the main chamber, their tentacles, wings, and various appendages flailing in panic. At the center of the room stood Admiral Zax, a tall, blue-skinned being with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like distant stars. His usually calm demeanor was shattered, replaced by a look of sheer terror. Esteemed members of the council, Zax began, his voice trembling, I bring grave news. The Zorblack system has fallen. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. The Zorblack system was home to one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Its fall was unthinkable. But how? Stammered Counselor Yit, a small, furry creature from the planet Fluff. The Zorblaxians had defenses that could repel entire armadas. Admiral Zax activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a planet engulfed in flames, with strange, dark shapes moving across its surface. We don't know much, Zax explained, but our probes captured this footage before they were destroyed. Whatever did this, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. The council watched in horror as the shapes on the display came into focus. They were massive creatures, each the size of a small moon. Their bodies were covered in thick, black scales that seemed to absorb light. Rows of razor-sharp teeth lined jaws that could swallow cities whole. But most terrifying were their eyes, glowing red orbs that radiated pure, primal hunger. We've designated them as Species X, Zax continued. Early analysis suggests they're some kind of apex predator, possibly from another galaxy. They seem to feed on energy, the kind produced by advanced civilizations. The room erupted into chaos. Council members shouted questions and demands, their voices blending into a cacophony of fear and confusion. Silence, roared Zax, his 4 arms raised high. We must act quickly. I propose we form a united fleet to confront this threat. Over the next few weeks, the greatest armada ever assembled in the history of the galaxy came together. Ships from 1,000 worlds, armed with the most advanced weapons ever created, prepared to face Species X. But it was all for naught. The battle lasted less than an hour. Species X tore through the fleet like it was made of paper. Their scales deflected energy weapons, while their massive jaws crushed battleships with ease. It was a massacre. In the months that followed, system after system fell to the voracious appetite of Species X. The Galactic Council tried everything. Negotiations, traps, even attempting to seal off entire sectors of space. Nothing worked. As fear gripped the galaxy, rumors began to spread. Some said Species X was invincible, that they were demons sent to punish the galaxy for its sins. Others claimed they were a weapon created by some long-dead race, accidentally unleashed upon the universe. But amidst the despair, a small glimmer of hope emerged. Reports began to trickle in of a newly discovered species on the fringes of the galaxy. They called themselves humans, and they had just achieved their first faster-than-light travel. Most dismissed these reports. After all, what could a fledgling race possibly do against a threat that had defeated the combined might of the galaxy's greatest civilizations? Little did they know that this small, seemingly insignificant species would soon change the course of galactic history forever. As news of the humans' first interstellar mission spread, Admiral Zax stood alone in his chambers, staring out at the stars. He couldn't shake the feeling that something momentous was about to happen. Whether it would be salvation or doom for the galaxy, only time would tell. The stage was set. Humanity was about to step onto the galactic scene, unaware of the terrors that awaited them, and the incredible role they were destined to play in the greatest conflict the universe had ever known. The starship Hope drifted silently through the inky blackness of space, its sleek silver hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. Inside, a crew of 20 humans buzzed with excitement. They were about to make history as the first of their kind to venture beyond their solar system. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the view screen. At 35, she was the youngest person ever to command an interstellar mission. Her short black hair framed a face etched with determination. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Lieutenant Raj Patel from his station. "We're approaching the coordinates for our first planned stop." Sarah nodded, allowing herself a small smile. Everything was going according to plan. Or so she thought. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, bathing the bridge in an eerie glow. "What's happening?" Sarah demanded, gripping her chair as the ship shuddered. "Unknown energy signature detected," shouted Ensign Maria Rodriguez, her fingers flying over her console. "It's massive, unlike anything we've ever seen." Before anyone could react, a blinding light filled the view screen. When it faded, the crew of the Hope found themselves face to face with their worst nightmare. A creature of impossible size loomed before them. Its body was covered in pitch-black scales that seemed to devour light. Rows of teeth, each as long as the Hope itself, lined a mouth that could swallow planets. And its eyes, two burning red orbs that radiated hunger and ancient malice. "My God," whispered Sarah, her face pale. "What is that thing?" The creature let out a roar that shook the very fabric of space. The Hope's systems went haywire, sparks flying from consoles as the ship's power fluctuated wildly. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah shouted, snapping out of her shock. "Get us out of here. Now." But it was too late. The creature's massive jaws opened wide, ready to swallow the tiny human ship whole. In that moment of terror, something unexpected happened. A young engineer named Alex Morgan stumbled onto the bridge, drawn by the commotion. His eyes widened as he saw the monster on the screen. "Wait," he cried out, pushing past the other crew members. "Let me try something." Before anyone could stop him, Alex activated the ship's external speakers. He began to emit a series of clicks and whistles, a sound unlike anything the other humans had ever heard. To everyone's astonishment, the creature paused. Its giant red eyes blinked, focusing on the Hope with what seemed like curiosity. "Alex, what are you doing?" Sarah asked, her voice a mix of fear and amazement. I don't know," Alex replied, his hands shaking. "It just felt right, like I could understand it somehow." The creature moved closer, but its posture had changed. It no longer seemed aggressive, but almost gentle. It emitted a low rumble that vibrated through the Hope. Alex responded with more clicks and whistles. To the crew's utter disbelief, a dialogue of sorts seemed to be taking place between the young human engineer and the galaxy's most terrifying predator. Minutes passed, feeling like hours to the tense crew. Finally, Alex turned to face his captain, his face pale but his eyes shining with excitement. "Captain," he said, his voice trembling. I think we just made first contact." Sarah stared at him, then at the creature on the screen, which now floated peacefully beside their ship. "But how? What did you say to it?" Alex shook his head, looking as confused as everyone else. "I'm not sure. It was like we connected on some fundamental level. I felt its thoughts, its emotions. It's not evil, Captain. It's just hungry and very, very lonely." As the reality of the situation sank in, the bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. Scientists rushed to gather data, communications officers prepared messages to send back to Earth, and Sarah found herself facing the most important decision of her life. "Well, Mr. Morgan," she said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips, "it seems you've just changed the course of human history. The question is, what do we do now?" As the Hope floated in space beside its new enormous companion, the crew knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and they had done so not with weapons or technology, but with understanding and empathy. The greatest adventure in human history had just begun. In the days that followed their incredible first contact, the crew of the Hope found themselves in uncharted territory, both literally and figuratively. Captain Sarah Chen had decided to continue their mission, but with an unexpected companion, the massive creature they had come to call Titan. Alex Morgan spent most of his time on the bridge, communicating with Titan through a series of clicks, whistles, and what the crew had started calling space charades. The young engineer's ability to understand the creature remained a mystery, but it was undeniably effective. He says he's been alone for longer than we can imagine, Alex explained one day, his face etched with empathy. His species doesn't age like we do. They sleep for thousands of years between meals. Sarah frowned. And those meals are entire civilizations. Alex nodded glumly. It's not malice, Captain. It's just survival. They feed on the energy of advanced societies. But Titan says he never understood the beings he consumed before. Not until he met us. The revelation sent shockwaves through the crew. Many were horrified, some fascinated, but all were changed by this new understanding of the universe. As the days passed, an unexpected bond began to form between the humans and Titan. The creature seemed genuinely curious about them, often positioning itself near the ship's windows to peer inside. The crew found themselves waving at the giant red eyes, and some even started keeping a log of Titan's behaviors. Dr. Emily Wong, the ship's xenobiologist, was beside herself with excitement. "Do you realize what this means?" she exclaimed during a staff meeting. "We're the first beings in the galaxy to actually communicate with Species X. The scientific implications are staggering." But it wasn't just science that was changing. The crew's perception of Titan was shifting too. What had once been a terrifying monster was becoming, almost a pet. A planet-sized, civilization-eating pet, but a pet nonetheless. One morning, the ship's sensors picked up an anomaly. A massive energy surge was heading their way. Before anyone could react, Titan moved, positioning its enormous body between the Hope and the incoming threat. The energy surge hit Titan with tremendous force, causing the creature to roar in pain. But it held its ground, shielding the tiny human ship. "It's protecting us," Lieutenant Potil shouted in disbelief. When the danger passed, Titan drifted closer to the Hope. Its scales were scorched, and one of its eyes flickered weakly. Without hesitation, Alex grabbed a spacesuit. "I have to help him," he said, his voice firm. "Are you crazy?" Sarah exclaimed. "We don't know if." But Alex was already heading for the airlock. The crew watched in tense silence as the young engineer floated out towards the injured behemoth. As Alex approached, Titan's massive eye focused on him. There was pain there, but also trust. Gently, Alex placed his hand on Titan's scales. A soft glow emerged from the point of contact, spreading across the creature's body. Inside the ship, instruments went haywire. "Incredible energy readings," Dr. Wong exclaimed. "It's like they're sensing somehow." Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Finally, the glow faded. Titan's injuries were healed, and Alex floated back to the ship, exhausted but grinning. As soon as he was back on board, Sarah confronted him. "What were you thinking? That was incredibly dangerous." Alex looked at her, his eyes shining with an otherworldly light. "I had to help him, Captain. He's not just some animal. He's lonely. And he chose to protect us." Sarah sighed, looking out at Titan, who now seemed more alive than ever. "I suppose he did at that. But what does this mean for us, for humanity?" Alex smiled. "It means we're not alone anymore. And maybe we can help Titan not be alone either." As the Hope continued its journey through space, the crew realized they were no longer just explorers. They had become ambassadors, friends, and perhaps the key to changing the fate of the entire galaxy. The bond between humanity and the universe's most feared predator was growing stronger by the day. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other beings were about to discover that everything they thought they knew about Species X and about humans was about to change forever. News travels fast, even in the vast expanse of space. It wasn't long before word of the unusual alliance between the humans and Titan reached the far corners of the galaxy. The response was immediate and chaotic. On planet Xeon, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The Great Crystal Chamber was filled to capacity, with representatives from hundreds of species arguing loudly. Admiral Zack stood at the center, trying to maintain order. "Please, everyone, we must approach this rationally." But rationality was in short supply. Counselor Yit, the small furry being from Fluff, hopped up and down in agitation. "Rationally, these humans are consorting with our greatest enemy. They must be stopped." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but not everyone was convinced. "Wait," came a calm voice. All eyes turned to Counselor Xuri, a tall, willowy being with shimmering skin. "What if this is an opportunity? If the humans can communicate with Species X, perhaps we can finally achieve peace." The chamber erupted into even louder arguments. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other reactions were unfolding. On the militant world of Kragoth, General Vork slammed his fist on the war table. "This is our chance," he roared to his officers. "While Species X is distracted by these humans, we can launch our ultimate weapon. We'll destroy them all in one fell swoop." His scientists looked nervous. "But sir," one dared to speak up, "our weapon is untested. It could destabilize the entire sector." Vork's eyes gleamed with fanatical light, a small price to pay for saving the galaxy. Elsewhere, on the peaceful world of Harmonious, things were taking a different turn. The planet's inhabitants, known for their powerful psychic abilities, had gathered in a great meditation circle. Elder Soma, her eyes closed in deep concentration, spoke to her people. "I sense confusion, fear, but also hope. These humans, they have touched the mind of the Great Devourer. We must learn more." As the Harmonians focused their mental energies, trying to reach out across space to the humans and Titan, they encountered something unexpected. A presence, vast and ancient, yet somehow changing. Back on the Hope, the human crew was blissfully unaware of the galactic turmoil they had caused. They were too busy marveling at their latest discovery. "It's incredible," Dr. Wong said, reviewing her scans. "Titan's physiology is actually changing. It's like he's adapting to not need to consume entire civilizations anymore." Alex nodded, a look of wonder on his face. "He told me he feels different, like he's waking up from a long dream." Captain Chen frowned. "That's fascinating, but we have other problems. Our long-range communications just picked up some disturbing chatter. It seems not everyone in the galaxy is happy about our new friend." As if on cue, the ship's alarms blared. Lieutenant Patel's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "Captain, to the bridge. We got multiple ships approaching. They don't look friendly." The crew rushed to their stations. On the main view screen, a fleet of aggressive-looking vessels appeared, weapons charged and aimed directly at the Hope. "This is General Vork of the Kragoth Empire," a gruff voice transmission. "Humans, you will surrender immediately and turn over the Species X specimen. Failure to comply will result in your destruction." Captain Chen's face hardened. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. We will not surrender, and Titan is not our prisoner. He's our friend." "Then you leave us no choice," Vork growled. "All ships, open." But before he could finish the command, something amazing happened. Titan, who had been floating peacefully beside the Hope, suddenly sprang into action. His enormous body moved with surprising grace, positioning itself between the human ship and the Kragoth fleet. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Titan began to glow. Waves of ethereal energy pulsed from his body, washing over both the Hope and the enemy ships. Inside the Hope, the crew watched in awe as their instruments went crazy. "Captain," Alex said, his voice filled with emotion. "Titan says he's not going to let anyone hurt his friends again. Ever." As the glow intensified, the Kragoth ships began to power down, their weapons disabled by Titan's strange energy. In that moment, it became clear to everyone watching across the galaxy. The relationship between humans and Species X wasn't just an anomaly. It was the beginning of a new era. An era that would change the fate of every being in the universe. And it was only just beginning. In the wake of the confrontation with the Kragoth fleet, Captain Sarah Chen made a bold decision. The Hope, along with its unlikely companion Titan, would embark on a journey across the galaxy. Their mission? To foster understanding and dispel fears about Species X. "We can't hide from this," Sarah told her crew. "The galaxy is in chaos because of us. It's our responsibility to fix it." And so began an extraordinary odyssey through the stars. Their first stop was the water world of Aquarius. As the Hope descended through the planet's atmosphere, the crew gasped at the sight of vast, shimmering oceans dotted with floating cities. The Aquarians, a species of highly intelligent aquatic beings, greeted them with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Their leader, High Tidcaler Zara, approached cautiously. "We welcome you, humans," Zara said, her voice bubbling through a translator. "But we must ask, is it safe?" The Great Devourer. Alex stepped forward, smiling reassuringly. "Titan isn't a threat anymore. In fact, he wants to help." To demonstrate, Alex communicated with Titan, who was floating serenely in the planet's orbit. Suddenly, the massive creature descended into the atmosphere, causing panic among the Aquarians. But instead of attacking, Titan gently lowered his enormous head into the ocean. The water around him began to glow with a soft blue light. Instruments all over the floating cities went wild. "Impossible," exclaimed an Aquarian scientist. "The pollution in our deepest trenches, it's being purified." Over the next few days, Titan worked tirelessly, cleaning centuries of industrial waste from Aquarius's oceans. The Aquarians' fear turned to gratitude and wonder. As they prepared to leave, High Tidcaler Zora approached Sarah. "We were wrong about Species X," she said. "Please, tell others what happened here." Their next destination was the desert planet Aridus, home to a reclusive species known for their advanced technology and deep mistrust of outsiders. As the Hope landed, they were met with a wall of armed guards and hovering defense drones. The Iridian Protector, a tall figure wrapped in shimmering robes, stepped forward. "State your purpose, humans," the Protector demanded, "and explain why you bring that monster to our world." Sarah took a deep breath. "We come in peace," she began. "We're here to show you that Titan, that all of Species X, isn't what you think." The Protector scoffed. "We've seen the destruction they cause. No explanation can change that." Just then, Alex, who had been in deep communication with Titan, spoke up. "Titan says he can prove his intentions. He wants to share his knowledge with you." Before anyone could react, Titan's eyes began to glow. A beam of soft light enveloped the Iridian Protector. For a moment, everything was still. Then the Protector gasped, stumbling back. "By the sands," they whispered. I saw the history of their species, their struggle for survival, their loneliness." Over the next few days, Titan shared more of his vast knowledge with the Iridians. Ancient technologies, lost to time, were rediscovered. The desert planet flourished with new life as long-dormant seeds were awakened. As the Hope prepared to leave, the Iridian Protector approached them. "We were wrong to judge based on fear," they said. "You've opened our eyes. We will spread the word to others." And so it continued. World after world, the human-Titan duo traveled, breaking down barriers and fostering understanding. On the fungal forests of mycelium, Titan helped cure a devastating plague. In the crystalline caves of Lumina, he taught the inhabitants how to harness the power of starlight. With each visit, the reputation of humans and Titan grew. Species that had once cowered in fear now looked to them with hope and admiration. But not all were pleased with these developments. In the shadows, those who thrived on conflict and fear began to plot. They saw the growing alliance between humans, Titan, and the rest of the galaxy as a threat to their power. As the Hope journeyed on, unaware of the dangerous forces aligning against them, one thing became clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. The age-old misunderstandings about Species X were unraveling, replaced by a new vision of cooperation and mutual understanding. Yet, the greatest challenges, and the true test of this newfound alliance, still lay ahead. The Hope's journey had taken them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. As they approached their final destination, the Galactic Council headquarters on planet Xeon, Captain Sarah Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and anxiety. "This is it," she told her crew. "Everything we've done, all the worlds we visited, it all comes down to this moment." Alex Morgan nodded, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "Titan says he's ready. He wants peace as much as we do." As the Hope entered Xeon's orbit, they were met with an awe-inspiring sight. Thousands of ships from every corner of the galaxy had gathered, forming a massive, shimmering fleet around the planet. "Looks like we're not the only ones interested in this meeting," Lieutenant Poddle remarked dryly. The Hope was escorted to a docking bay in the sprawling council complex. As the crew disembarked, they were met by a delegation led by Admiral Zax himself. "Welcome, humans," Zax said, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of peace. "And welcome, Titan." The Admiral's eyes widened as he looked up at the massive form of Titan, floating serenely above them. Sarah stepped forward. "Thank you, Admiral. We've come to propose a peace treaty between Species X and the rest of the galaxy." Zax nodded solemnly. "The council chambers await, but I must warn you, not everyone is as open-minded as I am." Inside the great crystal chamber, representatives from thousands of worlds had gathered. The atmosphere was tense, filled with whispers and wary glances. As Sarah and Alex took their places at the center of the room, with Titan's enormous eye peering in through a massive viewport, Admiral Zax called for order. "Esteemed members of the Council," he began, "we are here to consider an unprecedented proposal. The humans and their ally wish to forge a peace treaty with Species X." The chamber erupted into chaos. Shouts of protest and support mingled in a deafening roar. "Silence," Zax thundered. "We will hear them out." Sarah took a deep breath and began to speak. She told of their journey, of the worlds they had visited, and the good that Titan had done. Alex added his own experiences, explaining the deep bond he had formed with the creature once known only as a mindless destroyer. As they spoke, something remarkable happened. Titan, who had been silent and still, suddenly began to glow. A soft, warm light filled the chamber, and with it came a feeling of understanding. Counselors gasped as they felt Titan's thoughts and emotions wash over them. They saw flashes of his long, lonely existence, his joy at finding connection with the humans, and his deep desire for peace. But just as it seemed the council was swaying, a harsh voice cut through the moment. "Lies and trickery." It was General Vork of the Kragoth Empire, his face twisted with hatred. "This is nothing but a ploy to lower our defenses. Species X has destroyed countless worlds. They cannot change." Murmurs of agreement rippled through some sections of the chamber. The fragile moment of unity began to crumble. That's when Alex had an idea. He whispered quickly to Sarah, who nodded in agreement. "Members of the council," Alex said, his voice ringing out clearly, "Titan has a proposal. He offers to share his knowledge, the accumulated wisdom of eons, with all species. In return, he asks for a chance to learn from us, to evolve beyond his basic needs." The chamber fell silent. The offer was unprecedented. The knowledge of Species X could advance galactic civilization by millennia. Admiral Zack stepped forward. And how can we trust that this knowledge won't be used against us? Sarah smiled. Because we'll all learn together. Humans will act as intermediaries, ensuring fair and peaceful use of the knowledge. For hours, debates raged. Questions were asked, concerns raised, and compromises made. But slowly, surely, a consensus began to form. As the final votes were tallied, Admiral Zax's voice rang out. The motion passes. Let it be recorded that on this day, a historic peace treaty was signed between the Galactic Council, humanity, and Species X. Cheers erupted throughout the chamber and beyond, echoing across the stars. In that moment, the galaxy changed forever. A new era of cooperation and understanding had begun. But as Sarah, Alex, and the crew of the Hope celebrated their incredible achievement, none of them realized that this was just the beginning. The real challenges, and the true test of their newfound alliance, still lay ahead. For in the shadows of the universe, ancient powers were stirring, awakened by the shift in the cosmic balance, and they were not pleased with this new turn of events. 1 year had passed since the historic peace treaty between humanity, Species X, and the Galactic Council. The universe was transforming at an unprecedented rate. On Earth, gleaming towers of crystalline technology stretched towards the sky, gifts of Titan's ancient knowledge. Diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia were eradicated in months. Clean, limitless energy powered cities and spacecraft alike. But Earth was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, worlds that had once cowered in fear of Species X now welcomed them as teachers and allies. The Aquarians of the water world had developed cities that could sail between stars. The desert planet Eridus bloomed with lush gardens, its people masters of terraforming. At the heart of this new era stood the Harmony Initiative, a massive space station at the galaxy center. Here, representatives from every world gathered to share knowledge, solve disputes, and chart the course of galactic civilization. Captain Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood at the station's main viewport, gazing out at the swirling stars. Beside her, Alex Morgan smiled, his eyes glowing faintly with the power he now shared with Titan. Hard to believe how far we've come, Sarah mused. Alex nodded. And how far we still have to go. Titan says there's so much more to learn, to explore. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. A holographic image of Admiral Zax appeared before them. My friends, Zax said, his tone urgent, we have a situation. A Kragoth war fleet has been detected entering the Omega sector. They're not responding to hails. Sarah's face hardened. General Vork. He never did accept the treaty. We'll handle it, Alex said confidently. Within hours, a joint task force was assembled. Ships from a dozen worlds, led by the Hope, now upgraded with technology beyond imagination, set out to confront the Kragoth threat. As they entered the Omega sector, they were met with a shocking sight. The Kragoth fleet was massive, easily outnumbering the peacekeeping force 10-1. General Vork's face appeared on the communication screen, his eyes blazing with fanatical light. This is the end for your foolish alliance. He snarled. Species X will show its true colors, and the galaxy will see that only the strong deserve to rule. But before anyone could respond, something extraordinary happened. Titan, who had been traveling with the task force, suddenly began to change. His enormous body shimmered and split, dividing into hundreds of smaller forms. What's happening? Sarah gasped. Alex's eyes widened in understanding. It's not just Titan. It's all of them. Every member of Species X in the galaxy. They're answering the call. All around them, space lit up as more and more of Species X arrived. Not as mindless destroyers, but as sentient, evolved beings, each carrying the wisdom of eons and the newfound compassion learned from their human friends. General Vork's confidence faltered. Impossible. You're supposed to be monsters. "We were lost," came a telepathic voice, resonating in every mind. "The humans helped us find our way. Now we offer you the same chance. Let go of your hate. Join us in peace." For a tense moment, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Then, slowly, the weapons on the Kragoth ships powered down. Vork's image disappeared from the screen. As the Kragoth fleet stood down, cheers erupted across the task force. The last major threat to galactic peace had been overcome not through violence, but through understanding and compassion. In the days that followed, celebrations echoed across the stars. The Kragoth Empire, long a source of conflict, began the process of joining the galactic community. General Vork, humbled by the experience, became one of the strongest advocates for peace. As Sarah and Alex stood once again at the viewport of the Harmony Initiative, they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how far they'd come. "You know," Sarah said softly, "when we first set out on the Hope, I never imagined we'd end up here." Alex laughed. "Befriending the galaxy's most feared predator, brokering universal peace, unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. Just another day at the office, right?" As they watched ships from 100 worlds glide peacefully by, a feeling of immense possibility filled them. The galaxy had been transformed, and humanity had played a pivotal role. But they knew this was just the beginning. Out there in the vast expanse of space, countless adventures awaited. New species to meet, new challenges to overcome, new wonders to discover. And they would face it all together. Humans, Species X, and every other being in their grand, united galaxy. The future, once so dark and frightening, now shone brighter than the most brilliant star. And it all began with one unexpected friendship that defied the expectations of an entire universe.